I'm gonna start this video again. So no, I'm not gonna just walk away and let assholes just keep spreading false information. Mental health working scam, keep me out of it. Great example is Karen Hurley. Karen Hurley's nose out of joint in 2015 with her bullshit scamming. Sitting there saying, I copied Larry Altivilla, which is insane. I met Larry Altivilla in 2011. So I didn't know him before that, but he actually went to school with my cousins. So Dad's older sister Sandra, her children, well, her youngest daughter, I think Rebecca LeMay, he actually knew at school. So he didn't know Shane or the other ones. Shane's the one that looks like an Altivilla, funny enough. Shane's the one that looks like Stanley Fleming. The thing is, so Larry's on the Central Coast, but that's where my family is as well. Now, I'm sitting there, I'm on a cruise, I'm wearing a white Cavalli jacket, black Versace shirt, and grey Dolce Gabbana pants. This outfit that I'm wearing, you can actually see me photographed in April 2008 next to my grandmother. I'm going to a theatre. This outfit I was wearing, I've had since 2006. Yet, come 2015, 9 years later, that I've worn the exact same outfit. Because it doesn't go out of style. It's the exact same outfit. This person made up a story. I'm like, well, that's insane. But I'm not going to put up with people lying about me. And this is where this mental health worker doesn't like that. It's like, no, I'm not going to sit here and be lied about. And she was told off about it. Because I was so sick and tired of this bullshit. Dragging me into a scam, you're a fucking loser. So she brought up my clothing, and my attitude back was, Larry, no offense to Larry, I was like, Larry Altivilla wore Billabong before I met him. Like, he was such a Central Coast beachy before I met the guy. So you can knock your bullshit off. Thanks. And she was told off about it. Because she's an entitled mental health worker, and most of these people have issues that work in mental health. She's got drug, alcohol, and severe mental health issues. She projects her bullshit. It's like, okay, you can fuck off, mate. We're not even friends with you. I'm friends with... And she was sitting there rubbishing Larry Altivilla. I was like, okay, Larry Altivilla may be an acquaintance. Like, back then, like I say, he's an acquaintance. He would say, Justin's a friend, and so forth. I'm like, okay, I met him in 2011. But I'm not going to sit here and have his mother-in-law rubbishing him to the ground. Now ex-mother-in-law. She doesn't know me. She doesn't know my family. She doesn't know anything. And we just put up with her because of Larry. And that's it. Because we had a connection with Larry. Now, if you knew me, okay, for example, forget about this outfit, but throughout my entire life, you can see, so I come from two very stylish parents when they were younger. So my mother was very stylish, especially in the 80s. Christ almighty, people would have heard me say, oh God, my mum's outfits was like Bette Midler's outfits in Ruthless People. Because it was. She had these fabulous freaking dress, like extremely stylish, extremely outrageous 80s fashions. Because we're not from the country, we're not from the bush, which is what's been getting spread around. Now, this is where I'm not going to stand for the scam that I'm dragged into. The simple fact is that where I'm born is the suburbs of Sydney, but we owned acres of land. So we had a horse study in the suburbs of Sydney, 10 minutes from Parramatta. However, my family is from the inner city suburbs of Sydney, spending their entire holidays in summer on the Central Coast. So my lifestyle in my family is my lifestyle because I can go back through generation. Great example is my grandparents, both sets of grandparents, whether it was Reg and Lola, okay, Purdy, or Ruby and Stanley Fleming, the summer holidays will come and they'll go to the holiday houses on the Central Coast. Okay, so they're from Sydney, and then the Sydney people, almost like, if you want to explain it to Americans to get them to understand, you know how New Yorkers go to the Hamptons? Sydney people go to the Central Coast. And that's what I was trying to get America to understand. Okay, so because they're like, oh, what? It's like, well, we all had holiday houses on the Central Coast. I'm not from the bush. I'm not from the country. Listen, we owned horses in Sydney. We grew up riding, for example, in Castle Hill against Vines. So Jamboree was in Castle Hill. I rode in Ukumara, went to Nationals and Royals. We owned horses in Sydney. I come from a racing family, but that race, even Reginald George Purdy, is from Balmain and Roselle. Lola, my grandmother, born in Wellington, New South Wales, from a family that's actually from Sydney, from the inner city. To give you without too much background, my grandmother's grandmother. So Lola's grandmother, Julia, she's the only one who moved to Wellington. Her two sisters stayed in Bellevue Hill. May Goff, so it's Julia Sayer, maiden name's Ryan. Julia Ryan, May Ryan, Annie Ryan. Julia Sayer, May Goff, Annie Williams Shawkner. Annie Williams Shawkner and May Goff stayed in Bellevue Hill, which is why my nan's cousin, Gary Williams, grew up in Bellevue Hill. Tommy Williams is his father. Annie Williams is his grandmother. There's the family. My grandmother Lola's father was a jockey. They owned gallopers. The racing industry, the gallop industry, was in Wellington. How come? Did you do this for Ancestry.com? No. All my family was still alive. My great-grandmother didn't pass away until I was 16. My great-uncle, who I was really close to, Leo Patrick Say, did not pass away until I was 23. My dad's uncle, George Hill, who lived down the road of my grandparents in Ettalong Beach. So it was Stanley and Ruby Fleming lived in Ettalong Beach, 23 Bengala Street, Ettalong Beach. Okay, so Ettalong Beach is my family. But then so is the city. So is the Central Coast. So is New England. Why? Because we're not some Pavo family that sits around doing nothing. We evolve and move and have experiences of life and have always done this through history. Where you may go, you've only lived in one spot. So all you know is your surroundings. I know a lot of surroundings because I've lived everywhere. That's the difference between you and me. So don't sit there where people go, oh, I introduced Justin to this. No, you didn't. No one did. My upbringing introduced me to it. My upbringing introduced me to the Turkish restaurants in Surrey Hills. My upbringing introduced me to Chinatown because my mother worked in the city. Okay, my upbringing introduced me to it. You didn't. I was already there. My upbringing introduced me to this. You as a person did not. My upbringing is my upbringing, and it's extremely cultured, okay? It is extremely worldly, and I grew up also with extremely wealthy family members such as Leo Patrick Sale, okay, who travelled the world. Okay, I mean, when the war broke out, he was still in London. Okay, so and he worked on ships. He worked on Navy ships, Morse code operator. You did not introduce me to anything. My upbringing introduced it to me. So I sit back and won't let someone lie about me. And these people that have been lying about me don't like it when I'm standing up to them saying, well, I'm not going to let you lie about me because what you've said is completely wrong. It's completely false and it discredits my entire family. Then my family have my back. I'm like, fuck off, man. What I'm saying is the truth. And I'm trying to show you that I'm not letting my family get discredited. Like my mum's cousin, who I catch up with at the Strawberry Hotel, and I caught up with him last Wednesday. Okay, my mum's cousin, a retired police officer, still lives in Leichhardt, where the family's from. Okay, and when it comes to looking Arabic and so forth, dad's side, you've got Ada Gray, who looks extremely Jewish, my dad's grandmother, his mother's mother, and dad's father, who's not born in. So my dad's father is not born in Australia. Like if you want to knock your bullshit, like my dad's Mark Ian Fleming, a builder. Mark Rackley, which is all the shit from Tamworth that got projected, that's not my father. That's just another man my mother married. I don't even know him, but you guys seem to know so much about him because you're projecting him and his son, Daniel Rackley, on me. You seem to know so much about the Rackleys. Seriously, my mother's mistake has now just followed us for and I don't know the guy. Barely know Mark Rackley because my mum wasn't married to him long. 1988 until they separated at the beginning of 1995. Or the end of 1994, really, divorced in 95. But you guys seem to know so much about him. Like it was, what was it? I think we're only talking about 6 years. Just a little over 6 years they were together. So we're talking about someone that my mother was with a little over 6 years. She was with my dad. Where's the photo of my dad and my mum when they're teenagers? She was with my dad since a teenager. They met at Wentworthville Fair. I end up realising that their families were connected. Okay? They met at Wentworthville Fair near Parramatta. My mum's sister, Robin, dated my father first. They separated, then my mother went out with him. Like they've known, so my dad, the Flemings and the Purdy's have known each other since my mum and my dad were young teenagers. So let's go back to, Reg and Lola Purdy that as teenagers and kids before they were married. Before they were married, would holiday on the Central Coast. So when they were dating, my neighbour would used to tell a story about the car with the dicky seat going up the old Pacific Highway, the bends, and one of her uncles would sit in the dicky seat at the back, and you'd be going around these tight bends near a cliff, and be like, you could see, because my grandfather owned sports cars. Reginald George Purdy always had sports cars, two-seater sports cars, which is where my nan says I get it from. So the only seat for Uncle to sit in was the dicky seat in the back. They would be driving the Central Coast to spend the summers on the Central Coast. Okay, they're from Balmain, Rozelle, that whole area, Leichhardt, 43 Piper Street, Leichhardt, my nan's house. Now, my dad's parents, Ruby and Stanley Fleming, used to do the same. Summers on the Central Coast, which is why that baby photo is not other people's kids. There's a baby photo of my father, Mark Ian Fleming, and his younger sister, Linda. So Linda Fleming, who married Uncle Tony Pincham, right there at Ettalong Beach, and the island of Ettalong, like when you're at the beach, there's a little island in the background, is behind them. My dad was a little baby with his younger sister. In the exact same spot, there is a photo of myself, Justin Mark Fleming, and my twin sister Amanda Lee Fleming in a boat. Okay, right in the same spot. Our families through generation have grown up spending our summer holidays on the coast. In the same spot. So you people think you know something about me, yet you keep affiliating me with an area that has nothing to do with me. These are the simple facts that if you knew about me, you would, like, if you claim you know me. These are the simple facts that you would know if you claim you know me. Considering my dad's still at Empire Bay, my grandparents' house wasn't sold until 2015. 23 Bangalow Street, Ettalong Beach wasn't sold to the end of 2015. Dad's uncle, Uncle George Hill, who lived down the road in Bangalow Street, he moved from Leichhardt to Bangalow Street in the 80s to be close to his sister. Uncle George Hill, he didn't pass away into, was it 2014? Was still living there. Dad's sister is from Yamina, so moved from Parramatta to Yamina. Well, that's the one that looks very, Italian. I've had Italians go, oh no, Sandra looks Italian. I'm like, well, that's funny. I've had people look at Sandra and say she's Greek. Other people say she looks Egyptian. You say she looks Italian. Other people look at Dad's father and say he's Turkish. Okay, it's just Arabic looking. Like he just looks, ethnic. But he's not. My dad's father is not born in Australia. Okay, simple fact is that my pop, Stanley Fleming, is not born in Australia and is raised by a lady who had no children, no husband. He's raised by a spinster who used to take in ethnic orphan boys from the boats in Botany Bay, and it was a big Botany Bay family where her father, there's actually streets named after the Kavanagh family because her father was one of Australia's first pioneer nautical families. Now you claim you know me. Okay, well, I think it was John Kavanagh, which is Edith's father. Okay, he was one, he's renowned, Australian pioneer. That's who raised that family raised my dad's father. So how is it you don't know that? How is it you don't know who, Leo Patrick Sayer, who fought in the war for Australia? No, he fought in the war for the UK. Let's not get that right, sorry. He was actually fighting, but anyway, we were still pretty much joined for the UK then. So my great uncle was actually for England because he actually, it was on Morse code where he was on the, the Merchant Navy. Okay, sorry, yeah, but still, I used to grow up classifying England and Australia as one country. We fight together. So, Dad's father fought for Australia. So Stanley Fleming was a medic in the war. My great uncle was a Morse code operator. Okay. Now, how is it you don't... These are simple facts. Simple facts is that my mum's born in Darlinghurst. Started her life in Rozelle, Mansfield Street, Rozelle. Her parents wanted more land because they had horses stabled there. Back in those days, if you had money, if you could afford to have horses, you had horses. They had racing horses and so forth. Now, they wanted a different lifestyle. Their city was the slums, and they did not want to be around that. My grandmother did not want to raise a family in a terrace house. Okay, it was a terrace house that was the second from the corner. It was a lot smaller than, Nan used to complain about it. She hated it. So they moved to a new subdivision in the suburbs. So Mum could go and have ballroom dancing lessons, tennis lessons, and horses, and equestrian horses. Which is why I'm born in the suburbs and then moved in the city. As for styling, go have a look at photos of my dad. My dad would go to a barbecue and wear grey, beautiful dress, I'm talking about suit pants, white polo shirt. The belt will match the shoes. Ghetto gold. Lots and lots of gold. Okay? Because we are not bush people. We're not from the country. And New England is not what people think is a country town. New England is not a country town. New England is one of the richest places of Australia that received street lights before Sydney. And that's because of the money. It used to be called the City of Lights because it was so rich. That was the first place in history in Australia to actually receive street lights. Sydney wasn't. Sydney's supposed to be a city. Yet the richest area of New South Wales was Tamworth. Back in those days, Tamworth received electricity before Sydney. Sydney followed Tamworth, and that's the fact. I did go there for high school, and that's the thing. So Mum wanted to extend the horse stud. The suburbs of Sydney were turning into slums. The government was buying up people's lands and creating low-income housing. And that's exactly what happened. It was disgusting, low-life, pathetic people that live there now. All the people who had money, like we owned massive big land. What you look at it in the suburbs and think, fuck, like right near Parramatta, here's the house, here's the land. Other people have a lot more than us. Believe me, our neighbours had acres upon acres of land. We never had that. But we still had what my parents could afford. Okay? And when the government went along and started buying up people's land to build what these deadbeats fucking living like what I live around here, they're losers of people. They're pathetic houses. The government was buying up everyone's land, our neighbour's place, people across the road, and they demolished the houses, they demolished the swimming pools, demolished the stables, and where there was one house and one affluent family, suddenly there's 30 poor people. We weren't going to stay around for that. My mother literally put that house up for sale and sold it in a hurry. Like it wasn't on the market long. She could have waited, probably got double the money. To be honest, Mum came back from New England. She goes up there for a holiday. She came back within 4 months. No, not even 4 months. What I'm talking about. So Mum, it was the start of the year. Mum goes to New England in 1989. She comes back. She puts the house up for sale within a couple of months. The house is sold. We're packed up and we're out of there. We were not going to live around low socioeconomic people. No way. Not what the government was doing. We were out of there. Mum looked, found an affluent street, beautiful, bought a house in New England, came back, we're moving. And so there was no trauma surrounding it. I moved from an affluent street that was turning ghetto into a nice, really rich street where you were somebody, because I know as soon as I started high school, So one of my teachers, Mrs. Inwood, her son lived up the road from us and they're extremely snobby. You start realizing when you're 12 that your neighbors are mega multi-millionaires. It's not talked about. You live like where your mum lives. So suddenly it's like, how much money does Carol have? Like, that's like, oh, I was king shit in high school. Who did my art teacher ask to be like, drive around and, we're going to do downtown interiors. Okay, everyone else can go study. Justin, come on. Cruising around in her Ferrari red Mercedes-Benz. Me. I lived in an affluent street where it was nothing for my mum's neighbour to spend $9 million on renovating all this land and turn it into a parkland, where everyone in her street's a multi-millionaire, where Michael Bly's grandparents owned North Sydney. Yeah, you start realising just where you live when you start high school and it's all talk. Like people, it's all whispers. Do you know who Justin's mother's neighbour is? Yeah. So whatever idiots have, I moved back home to Sydney after 6 years for no other reason except I'm actually from Sydney. Then I moved to Empire Bay and was studying in Newcastle. Now, here's the thing that really pisses me off, because where the wrong information is. We're from the inner city suburbs of Sydney, moved to the suburbs to have acres of land, sold that land, mum moved to New England, dad's here, so forth. Our upbringing is our upbringing. When mum worked for the Schollbacks in the city. So you've got Diane and Ian Schollback there, and I'm really sorry if this is not meant to be out there in public, but I can only say it's just so I can verify who I am, because they probably wouldn't remember me as an adult. I haven't seen Brendan Schollback now for 20 years. The last time I saw him was in October 2005 at his mother Diane's funeral, which is really sad because Diane was one of my mum's best friends. And so was the property developer, which was Bev Jones. Well, actually, it was Bev Jones' husband, Lindsay, that was the property developer, but Mum always said that Bev's the brains. And Mum's secretary was Margie Clay. Margie Clay still lives in the city. Margie Clay, I grew up with her when she was with her first husband, Trevor. Now she's with the barrister, Ross Goodrich. Okay, do you understand? If you know me, This is my lifestyle of an affluent lifestyle, not a poor, povo lifestyle of dining out in restaurants as a little kid. Where Ian Scholbach took his entire legal team, the entire office, out to have Vietnamese in the city, and there's no kids except for Amanda and myself because we're practically family for the Scholbachs. So there's Amanda and myself, and I'll tell you now, I'm part of my remembering good times. We're there at a restaurant in the city, Vietnamese restaurant, and there was these rolls, and I'll tell you what he was like as a joke. He was saying that it looks like vegetables in a condom, and I remember that as a little kid sitting there thinking, what's a condom? So yeah, the only two children at an adult's table full of barristers was Amanda Lee Fleming and myself, Justin Mark Fleming. Okay, this is the lifestyle I had. Not a country lifestyle, not a bush lifestyle, an affluent lifestyle that some people classify as wealthy and can't comprehend. How did you have all this? Mum's a paralegal, dad's a builder. I'm sorry, but the simple facts is that why do I have more than my cousins? My mum's was a full-time working paralegal, and my dad was a full-time working builder. I don't know what else you want me to say. Is that my upbringing represents their jobs. Okay, so Brendan Scholbach was the adopted child. Now, I remember him more than his brothers and sisters, and I'm sorry. The reason why I remember him more is because he used to remind me of Ian to look at. And then Mum said he's adopted. It's like, okay. But I'm sorry, if that's not meant to be said. So they're from Clifton Gardens in Mossman, and it's David Street, Clifton Gardens. This is the family. So when Mum used to go to work, all our clothes were purchased from David Jones in the city. We were extremely stylish family. Now, if you know, and I'm going to keep this, I don't want to go over 30 minutes of this, just to say that all of the information that everyone, including mental health workers, have just gathered in the last 11 years, social and support workers, it doesn't relate to me at all. None of it. You have information to do with Justin Pascoe. And I'll say this, at least you got the high school right. Okay, but that information you have doesn't relate to me at all. Okay, you see, we had really good uniforms. My mother was so we went to a strict Roman Catholic school where, your socks were put up, your dresses were measured, you had to wear a blazer. So some people wore a blazer was girly, or the tennis jumper. I opted for the tennis jumper. Okay, you were not allowed to wear the jersey unless it was PE. Whoever wants to say this, okay, you were not allowed to wear the jersey. Okay, that jersey was only for PE, for sports, which was Tuesdays afternoon. And in Tuesdays afternoon, I used to spend time doing rock climbing, gym, sitting in a sauna, and indoor swimming. Oh, there's also the squash courts there as well, because there was a workers' club that my school, being a private school, had first dibs on. It was they had a connection with it. So, it was like, what are you going to do for sport? Oh, I'm just going to sit in a sauna. I'm going to go to the gym. It was the workers' club, in Bridge Street, that our school had, they had a tie with it. So every Tuesday they had a massive big Olympic inside swimming pool. Okay, this is the lifestyle that I grew up in. My mum grew up playing tennis. My mum was a really good tennis player. She had gone before it, had horses, ballroom dancing lessons. My mum's grandmother's a seamstress, dress designer. Her grandfather's a jockey. They owned racehorses. Her father's a butcher, but jack of all trades. Jack of all trades is a master of none, but still better than a master of one. Okay. Reginald George Purdy also worked and got John Smales, who should have married my mum when my dad divorced her. The only man that should have ever been with my mother after my father divorced her was John Smales, a family friend. Got John Smales out of bankruptcy. It was original PJ Boats and then changed to Family Boats in Ford Street, just off Sunny Hot Road in Blacktown. My grandfather used to rewire boats and I used to go to work with him on school holidays. Now, if you say you claim you know me, then why is descriptions that you have, that everyone gathered from so-called friends, but all I can see is unreliable sources, how come these descriptions don't match anything to do with my family, upbringing, or where I'm from and born? Okay, how come? Doesn't even match my hair color. Yes, I was a white blonde baby. So was my younger sister, Sky Sheridan Fleming, but that's baby hair. I lost my baby. Like you can actually literally see the roots. When I was my baby hair's growing out, I had this black stripe down here, and the whiteness it was growing out as a little kid. My hair's been near jet black since I was a child. Okay, I look ethnic because my dad's father had dark olive skin and jet black hair and one monobrow. Looked like the most Arabic guy you're ever going to see. If you start looking at all the photos right here on my social media, you are going to see all these family members that people are like, no, that's other people's photos. No, this is my family. This is my family. That's who I'm blood related to. All those ethnic looking people. Yeah, it gets very confusing when you start seeing names like Shane Johnson. It's like, how is that Shane Johnson? Because he looks like a Luigi, or he looks like it should be an Ali, or he looks like it should be, this or that. And it's like, yeah, exactly. Australian names with ethnic looking people, it starts raising some red flags, especially for dumb cunts in America or immigration. But those are the facts. Okay? Facts are the facts. All right? So, we had a very city life. We owned land in the suburbs, and then we had a very affluent life in New England as well. Okay, everything I can talk for myself. Thanks. New England, where we lived in New England, is a city, and it's very beautiful and it's very wealthy. And the street we lived on is extremely wealthy. Oh my god! I could only just think of having one of the cheapest places on Mum Street to live on. It is known, that street in that area. Okay, a great example is most people in that spot just out past Mum was not on town water. Okay. However, the owners of the area were so rich that they wanted town water and got it. It was the only street where my mum's situated that actually had town filtered water, like proper water. Okay. There's a reason, so when I went to school, I was like, oh, they live there. They know this. And Justin's mother's, the only thing that let my mum down was a second husband. Because my mum would show up, for example, when my mum worked for Lyons Barnett Kennedy law firm and PK was a receptionist, we'll be invited to these fabulous parties, and then mum would show up with Mark Rackley, the deadbeat nurse. And they'd be like, oh. And literally you heard people talk, it's like, what's Carol doing with that? It's like, oh my God, exactly. Like I'm her son, like watching this car crash of emotions that mum's going through since dad divorced her. I'm sitting here going, and because she's taken out of me. Since, everyone's going, oh, your mum was like that after, she lost a child to a second husband. No, mum's been like this towards me since dad divorced her. She blames me for dad divorcing her. She blames it, literally, she's been like it since, I'm literally sitting back going, watching my mum being this classy, beautiful woman with a great lifestyle where the bank, we'll walk into the bank and they used to open the door for her. She's Mrs. Fleming. Literally, her husband's a builder and she's a paralegal. We were somebody. Mum was going, the next minute, dad just divorced her. So I can imagine what poor mum went through because there was nothing leading up to that divorce. There was no, was there, any reason? No, dad just picked up his bag and went to his parents' place in Parramatta. Next minute, he's filing divorce. So I could just imagine what mum went through because I got it all. And then she was running around on this rebound. It's like, so anyway, when it's like, you literally, it's like, yeah, exactly. People looking like, oh my God, here's my mum all dressed up, beautiful, classy, beautiful. You see photos of her, she looks great. It's stunning. Stunning jewelry, maintained. Hey, she's down the back working on the horses, she's got horses in show condition. She's got to get ready for the Nationals and Royals. She's working full-time job, plus she's doing other part-time jobs. So she's working full-time paralegal, part-time jobs. Okay, she's down there washing horses, playing horses, grooming horses, working horses. She got the horse shows to go to, and she still turned up and her nails are done, even though she wanted to be a smart ass about, oh, your father used to get upset if I chipped. No, Mum, you turned up, your nails were stunning. Your makeup was done. You looked immaculate. She looked immaculate. Her hair was always beautifully styled and the most stunning clothing. She actually looked, without me being a cunt because of the shit that's going on, she looked great. You can sort of sit there and be really proud that, yeah, that's my mum. And then she turns up with this guy. It's like he's in a flanny, dirty jeans, sneakers, some dirty friggin' cubic hat with badges on it, some chain. And they'll be like, what's Carol doing with that? It's like, hello, exactly. What, John Smales should be with her. I've been saying this as a little kid. Dad divorced it, but the only person that really mum should be with is John Smales. I've said it for years. John Smiles' adult. Every single birthday of my mother's, John Smiles is taking her out for seafood. John Smiles are doted. The birthday's the same day. Mum's like, oh, no, that's not going to work. He's a workaholic. I'm like, so are you. Works fine. You're both exactly perfectly matched and you can't see it. Like, honestly, I thought with Mum getting older, I thought, well, why can't you just really see the fact? And then he got married again. It's like, oh well, that was your silliness because John doted on you, Mum. No, but absolute beautiful man. John Smiles. Absolutely. He was like an uncle to us growing up. Absolutely love him. The only man that he views, like, honest to God, when I was a teenager, the way he would be like talking to you, well, you know, people think, oh, Justin yells and screams. John Smiles. Okay, my dad doesn't. Dad's like a little quiet sort of mouse. Reginald George Purdy, father figure. John Smiles, father figure. Ian Shellback, father figure. What do? Oh, they walk for a friggin' heck. Ian Shellback walk in the friggin' into the lawyer firm and throw a fucking ashtray. Where's this? I asked for it yesterday and throw it like this. So Justin's grown up watching this. What does Justin do? Well, Reg walked in the front door, very polite to the neighbours, walks in, because he's going, once you get inside the front door, then you can let out. Slams the front door, slams the back door. What does Justin do? Exactly what Reg does. Okay? Same thing. Okay? What does, John Smiles do? Okay? Who did Justin grow up around? Reginald George Purdy. Oh, the snobbiness comes from my great uncle, Leo Patrick Sayer. Fucking snob like you wouldn't believe. So is Mary, his sister, Maisie. An absolute snob. Like, real snob. Real put their nose up, like, where you really couldn't be like, oh, God. Like, you really, like, my great-grandmother wasn't really subtle at times with her snobbiness. Okay? Where even Lola, her daughter, used to get the shits. Because Lola was less snobby than her mother. But who was I close to? Big Nan, Uncle Fred, so I've got this sort of attitude of rage, but I've got the snobbiness of my great-grandmother and my great-uncle. I've got the attitude for this. It's my upbringing. You people didn't introduce me to anything. My upbringing introduced me to life, and every experience that I've had, everything I do is based from my upbringing. A lot. My dinner setting is based from my upbringing. Okay, I can sit here and say, oh, my nan used to go there, which I did, Ruby, for lunch. Hot lunches, all trimmed out. Beautiful dinner set with silverware, cut glass, everything. But what I use here comes from my mum's family. You see, my mum's mother, like Lola, and my mum's grandmother grew up like that. I still have the silver candlestick they used to sit on the house in Leichhardt. Okay, Mum needs to think for a minute, and the dinner set, that the fine bone china dinner set that's on display in her china cabinet came from the house in Leichhardt. There's not many pieces of it left. It was all smashed because it got broken and so forth. Not smashed for any reason, it got broken through years, but that is how they used to live their life. How my great grandmother used to live her life with beautiful crystal, fine bone china and silverware. So what does Justin do? Exactly what his upbringing taught him. Now, when man and I had different upbringings to our younger sister. So and same with on Dad's side. So Man and I would sit there at a fully set dining table. I knew how to set a dining table correctly and sit there at a dining table for dinner. We never ate in front of the TV. We never ate on the sofa. We had a formal dining room. We had a family room. We had a formal living room. At my father's house, same thing. We would sit there for dinner. When my dad was with Annette Craven, who's from Penrith. She owned a photography studio there. We would sit there, and if we finished, we'd have to say, may I be excused from the table? And my dad would say, no, or you can sit there and wait till everyone else is eating. And you'll sit there and you would be quiet. You wouldn't fidget. You wouldn't talk. You just sit there and you'd wait. Because we were raised, so everything to do with me has nothing to do with anyone else except for my upbringing. And I don't want to change my upbringing for the world, because I've lived more of a life before I was 22 than anyone I've ever met. Every person I have met since 2001, I have felt, oh my God, they have not lived. Yet they think they've lived, and they look at my life and think, oh, Justin's this. I'm like, no. No, I've lived more of a life than you've ever lived. I mean, I traveled around America when I was 21. You know, I lived a life, a very fulfilled life, before I'd even met you people. And then they'd be like, oh, Justin did this because we've done this. I'm like, I didn't know, and I would definitely not copy you, because I look at you like you're a povo. Like sorry, Sam Delati. Like I used to look at your family, feel sorry for them, and think, but they're plebs. They don't know any better. Anyone I've met since 2001, I've been sitting back going, oh, they're plebs. Unfortunately, I moved back home to Sydney. I'm surrounded by plebs. So your bullshit doesn't make any sense, because my upbringing's my upbringing, and I experienced everything before I ever met you. It doesn't even match the time frame. Like I literally have people go, "Oh, I introduced Justin to that." I'm like, "How? I didn't know you back in 1995, and I certainly didn't know you in the year 2000. And I was going to this restaurant in 1995 and this restaurant in the year 2000. It's been there for a long time, and I used to ride my horse up there around Moore Park, and I never knew you until 2002. So how did you introduce me to it when I was already there before I ever met you?" And I'm not going to put up, I'm going to leave it there because I wanted this to make it only half an hour. So just so everyone's aware, I'm not going to put up with you making up stories. And that's where everybody has their nose out of joint with me in the last 11 years, because I stand up to you going, stop your bullshit. What came out of your fucking life? Your bullshit. Okay? Shut up. Oh, I opened my life up to Justin and showed him this. Fuck, stop your fucking bullshit, mate. Because no, you didn't. My family's from here. Most like they're from the city, the suburbs, the coast, and New England. That's where they're from. You opened nothing up to me. I socialised with you in an area that I know extremely well before I ever met you. In restaurants that I know well before I met you. Knock your fucking bullshit off, because I'm not someone that's going to sit there and fucking swallow it. And it's that simple.